Prime Video, not sponsored, has this kind of live channel feature where you can watch 24/7 reruns of certain shows. And one of those shows is Degrassi, The Next Generation. And I was a kid that grew up with Degrassi, and I have vague memories of Paige, Chuck, and Alex Nunez. So when I saw them together again when I turned on the channel, I was flooded back with memories. I'm going to recap the relationship starting with the episode titled Lexicon of Love, which is a clever play on words of Alex's nickname, Lexi, and it's also her first big episode of the show. Alex has had other run-ins with characters, but this is the first time the show focuses on her specifically. Before I get into the episode, let's give a little bit of background on each of the characters so we can understand where they are starting off and how they are different from each other. Paige Chuck is the stereotypical popular mean girl of Degrassi who has gone through her fair share of struggles and trauma. She gradually develops into a character that is more quick-witted and sharp-tongued with a good side. She likes to have her life and future planned out and is very ambitious in obtaining those goals.
Well, it sounds like you got your whole life planned out, Paige.
I know what's best for me.
Then we have Alex Nunez, who is more of the bad girl from the wrong side of the tracks. As stated previously, Alex doesn't get much focus on her character throughout the show, but there are tidbits to be gathered here and there. The biggest ones being that she comes from a very rough background and her home life is riddled with domestic abuse.
You ever ice your mom's lip? Bandage her up? Lay awake at night listening to her cry? Didn't think so.
Given this, I don't think she knows how to put much stock into her future, and she claims to live for the now. These two form an unlikely friendship when Paige needs to get a job to pay for damages she caused to Spinner's car. Paige ends up working at the movie theater where Alex also works too. They are both a little put off by this as they've never really gotten along with one another, but eventually they end up developing respect for each other and they become friends. So between this point in season 4 all the way up to season 5, they are seen in closer proximity to each other in general. However, I actually do want to bring up another episode really quickly before I talk about the Lexicon of Love, and that would be Death of a Disco Dancer. Everything I said regarding how each of these characters view their future plans is highlighted in this episode. At this point, they are not in a relationship or anything, but they are friends. Degrassi is having a college fair, and Paige, being the one who's very adamant about going to college or university, is very much looking forward to this opportunity. And Alex couldn't really care less at all, and a bunch of backstory happens regarding Paige and a student assistant teacher in a storyline that I don't really care for at all. But to cut a long story short, Paige ends up getting dumped and is basically accused of being high-strung, uptight, and incapable of going with the flow. The guy who dumped Paige gave her a joint, and Paige, in a very un-Paige-like move, pulls it out on the front steps of Degrassi and asks Alex if she would go to the fair if she was high. And Alex says to her,
"I'll go if you're stoned."
So they're both high now. And lo and behold, a family friend of Paige's who was also on the committee or something for banting is also at the event, and Mr. Simpson, being the nice guy he is, sets up a meeting for them, which is obviously not a very good look for her to be high in the middle of school. But as she tries to sober up, she and Alex get into a fight, and Paige says,
My entire future depends on this.
I don't understand you.
Because you don't have a future.
which is very much out of line. I get that she's upset and really not completely herself at the moment given the weed, but like, what a thing to say about your friend, you know? Paige does acknowledge this later and she does apologize for it. But the reason that I want to bring this up is because it really highlights the main struggle that is consistent throughout not only their friendship, but their relationship too. So I don't know how long I've been recording, but I know I said I would start with the Lexicon of Love, so here we are. But hey, if you are enjoying the video so far, please consider subscribing, it would mean a lot. Okay, but for real now, the episode Lexicon of Love starts off with Degrassi getting ready for a movie premiere. Now, I won't go into detail about it, but Paige and a bunch of the Degrassi kids were in a movie, and now Paige was able to secure tickets to the premiere. Alex thought that she was invited, given that Paige asked her before, but only to find out that that wasn't the case at all. Alex is upset about it, understandably so, and Paige tries to explain herself, but Alex doesn't really want to hear any of it. Paige tries to make it up to her by scoring an extra ticket, only to also find out that she's been cut from the movie entirely. She doesn't want to go after finding that out, but Alex convinces her that they are going to make the directors regret ever cutting her from the movie. So they attend the premiere, and there is some very clear chemistry and attraction going on, but at this point it's still pretty subtle and probably excusable for friendship. But then there's the matter of the after party where they play the flirty up by a lot to get in, and once they are in, it doesn't stop there. But first, they have a little run-in with Jay, who is Alex's ex-boyfriend, and he says some derogatory things about Paige, and Alex steps in to defend her real quick, and they go off to dance together. And while we can always make the excuse that girls are definitely more affectionate and open with each other,
yeah, I saw your friend and my ex doing some seriously sexy dancing last night.
So? You need to get out more. Girls do that stuff all the time.
it definitely might raise a few eyebrows. Cue Jay coming in to make comments saying he enjoys Alex's little lesbian act. Cue me throwing up. But they end up leaving the party and head off to Alex's house to get Paige some shoes since she threw them away when they were dancing. And this is where we get a little bit more insight into Alex's home life. We've already had bits and pieces that it's not very stable, and when we walk into the living room, there is Alex's mom seemingly waking up from a drunken stupor. She tells Paige that she's heard a lot about her from Alex, and they sit down to have a little chit-chat. But when Paige asks Alex's mom about how Alex was as a kid, she says,
"You know what? I can't remember."
Which might hit a little bit too close to the truth, even though she says it was a joke. But when we cut back to them in the living room, Paige and Alex are alone, and they are sort of recapping the night. And it seems as if Alex has something on her mind, so she brings up their dancing at the after party, and Paige retracts a little bit, claiming,
What about it? We were just having fun. No big deal, right?
but it's clear that she felt something too. And when Alex starts to lean in, there is a fight that breaks out between Alex's mom and boyfriend, and it leaves Alex in the crossfire of it all. They head back to Paige's house, and she is tending to Alex's wound, and Paige says that she doesn't deserve to live in an environment like that. Alex tells her that she's in trouble, but
This isn't related to any table collisions that happened tonight. It's a different kind of trouble.
she once again leans in for a kiss, and this time it happens. Paige pulls back for a second and is flustered by everything that just happened. She panics and leaves the room, opting to sleep on the couch for the night. In the next episode, which is the second part of the Lexicon of Love, it is a two-part episode. Paige is extremely on edge given what happened the night before. They have a little bit of an argument without really saying much about what's on their minds, and Alex storms off to get ready for school. The next time we see Paige, she is talking to Marco about whether or not he ever thinks about girls. And the key thing to know about Marco here is that he is gay.
Now, did you miss the years that I dated your brother?
But he figures out that something happened between Alex and Paige the night prior. They do end up meeting up for free period, and they are able to talk things out. Paige wants to make it clear that they can never be a thing because she isn't gay. But this is all new territory for Alex as well, and she makes it clear that what happened last night was not one-sided, and it was very much reciprocated. They both start talking about how it wouldn't make sense to be together, but for some reason they both feel this unexplained pull bringing them together, and they share another kiss, but this time initiated by Paige. However, unfortunately, they have someone who caught them together, more like someone who's sneaking around watching them. And Jay is not one to keep his mouth shut, so he tells Hazel immediately. Hazel confronts Paige, who once again has another freak out, and says that Alex means nothing to her. Alex overhears the conversation, and she storms out. Paige follows her and tries to explain that she simply can't be gay. Obviously, Alex is hurt by all of these mixed signals, because who wouldn't be? And she doesn't need anybody's pity anyway. After an assembly that was an absolute disaster, Paige has some guidance thrusted upon her by Kevin Smith.
I don't know, you guys seem happy the other night, you know, and that's kind of rare. And whether it's gay, straight, bi, whatever, it's kind of worth investigating a little further, I'd say. Just my 2 cents.
She leads Paige back all the way to Alex's apartment, where she tells her that she's no longer going to be scared about what other people think, and they begin the start of their relationship. But Paige and Alex fizzle out pretty quickly in the 5th season. The next episode we see them in is Our Lips Are Sealed Part 2, where Paige wants her girlfriend and best friend to get along, but they are very much struggling to do that, which leaves Paige extremely unhappy. There's really not much to say about this. At the end of the episode, they essentially bond over the care they have for Paige and have a little food fight too. And then we reach the episode High Fidelity Part 1, which is a 2-parter Season 5 finale, but the only episode that really matters is the first one in this case. At the beginning of this video, I gave quick descriptions of Paige and Alex and highlighted how they are different. Well, this is where their differences really come to a head. Graduation is right around the corner, and Paige already has her plans set. She's headed off to Banting, aka the Harvard of the North, apparently, and Alex is more concerned about what she's going to do in the afternoon or next week. Paige becomes very pushy and tries to force Alex to start thinking about her future. Now, personally speaking, I do understand where Paige is coming from. I just think she went about it the wrong way. She came off as more judgmental and rude rather than trying to understand and help Alex take a new perspective. I do think Alex needs a helping hand in seeing things in a different light. Once again, given the way she's grown up and her current financial situation and home life, it's no surprise that anything regarding her future seems unattainable. And given how Paige is, I do think that she could have been a good person to help her look at things differently, but that's just not how it panned out. That being said, Alex was no angel in this either. When they skip school together, Alex slips a CD in Paige's bag and she trips off the burglary alarms. They are both clearly upset with each other, and Alex is the one to end up breaking things off.
Maybe I'll go to college, maybe I'll join the army, maybe I'll start a business, I don't know. But I have to figure it out on my timetable.
What are you trying to say?
I think you can figure it out. You always were the smart one, Paige.
They don't really end on bad terms, as can be seen in High Fidelity Part 2, but that's where their story ends until free falling in Season 6. So now Paige is attending her dream university, Banting, but it's more stressful than she could have ever imagined, and the first person she thinks to call up to talk about her problems is Alex. She leaves a voicemail that is very concerning in regards to her mental state.
Have you ever felt like the subway is running over your lungs, like you're trying to breathe, but the entire train is just crushing your ribs?
They meet up for Thanksgiving, and it's revealed that Alex has gone back to Degrassi to raise some of her grades so she can try to get into a better school. They spend the night together in a completely platonic manner, and in the morning, the Thanksgiving plans need to get done, and Paige decides to take it on because everyone can't seem to get their crap together, which is not the smartest idea considering she is still stressed about school and has an essay to write. When her mom comes and visits, Paige wants to tell her about her issues, but her mother only adds more pressure on her because she considers her perfect little girl or something like that, which swings Paige into another full-blown panic attack. And when Alex tries to comfort her, she blows up at her too because she only feels that Alex is adding more pressure onto her. Thanksgiving dinner wasn't any better, and Paige ends up going back to Banting to try and get work done. What she ends up doing is burning down her dorm to try and get an extension, but that doesn't end up working out for her, and she ends up going to her last ditch effort: plagiarism. The teacher catches on very quickly and gives her a 0 for the paper. Paige essentially drops out after that. After the whole Thanksgiving fiasco, Paige and Alex are surprisingly not on bad terms. When Paige heads back down home, she visits Alex and her girlfriend at the Dot. Afterwards, Paige crashes at Alex's place and she kisses her. Understandably, Alex is confused, asks why she did that, didn't really get a sufficient answer, and heads to her room. The next morning, Paige makes her breakfast, but doesn't say much regarding the kiss. She only tells Alex that she has big news for everyone. Once they meet for karaoke, Paige tells the group that she got a full ride to Toronto U, which is an absolute lie. It's the middle of the semester and it doesn't make any sense. Of course, there are questions to be had from the group, but they all get deflected. Later that night, Alex is inquiring about what is really going on with Paige because it all seems a bit odd even coming from her. And while Paige continues to lie, Alex finds some incriminating paperwork in the trunk of her car. Now, let me just say that Alex wasn't snooping or anything, but she was looking for paper towels because Paige spilled some gas on
My pinchy boots.
Alex ends up telling Paige's mom because at this point, Paige was going to keep on lying to everyone and keeping the secret to herself. Paige is upset at first, but I do think she holds some understanding as to why Alex did what she did. And now that Paige is fully back from Banting, she wants to get back into the dating scene. And what better person to ask for love advice than your ex-girlfriend? I'll keep the story short, but essentially Paige engages in casual dating and starts seeing Spinner and another guy named Jesse. Throughout the episode, there are hints here and there that Alex still has feelings for her, and after a whole mess at a fashion show that led Paige to another almost panic attack, it's revealed that she is still indeed in love with her. But Paige is not ready to reciprocate at the moment. And now we reach the season 6 finale, and this two-parter is focused on Alex. Unfortunately, Alex and her mother have fallen on hard times yet again after her mom's boyfriend committed credit card fraud under her name. Credit card companies have absolutely no sympathy and say to her,
"Bank says my credit card, my problem."
Alex is able to find a job through Jay and his new girlfriend at a place that doubles as a bar and a strip club. Alex is adamant at staying on the bar side.
Small price to pay for your soul.
Lexi, if you were so against stripping, then why are you working here?
Why else? I need the money.
So does she. The only difference between her and us is that she needs it more.
But as circumstances regarding her family's finances keep closing in, her mind starts to sway a little bit more. If only to make things worse, her and her mother are weeks away from being evicted if they can't come up with money for the rent. On top of all of this, Paige is finally ready to enter a relationship with Alex, but Alex is tired of the door being opened and closed and opened and closed. Paige is struggling with the idea of being bisexual, and she still feels a lot of pressure from her family to lead a certain kind of life. The issues she faces seem so minuscule to Alex at the moment, given her current predicament. And I would just like to say that I do think Paige's struggle is understandable, and I truly do wish that it was given more time in general. The only girlfriend she ever had was Alex, and her bisexuality was never really touched upon or explored, which I truly do think is a shame for the show in general. But going back to Alex, she storms off frustrated and overwhelmed by everything.
Pressure? Excuse me for finding your idea of pressure pretty damn pathetic right now.
By the end of the episode, Alex decides that her only option is to become an exotic dancer and strip for money. And I'm going to give my personal stance on this really quickly. I don't really care if somebody is a stripper or exotic dancer or anything like that. However, I do think that when people are forced into a situation, given their circumstances they either can't escape from or are forced into it, it's extremely sad and disheartening. It's not something they want to do, but they feel like they have to do it, and there's nothing more demoralizing than that. On top of all of this, Alex is extremely young, and that just makes all of her situation 100 times worse. At the end of the day, I firmly believe that Alex needs and deserves support from her peers and her family around her. Moving forward to part 2 of the season finale, Paige goes to Alex's house where she is looking very worn out, and understandably so. But Paige lets her know that she is now fully committed to getting over her fears and starting a relationship with Alex once more. And thus, their story begins again. Only to be torn down a little later in the episode when Paige sees Alex at the new side of her job. She doesn't take it well, and I get it. It would be an absolute shock for anyone, and if there is something that I can appreciate about Paige, is that the first thing she does is try to help her get a new job. Something that I didn't appreciate from Paige, though, is her inability to hear Alex out and try to understand where she is coming from. I'm not saying that Alex should keep doing what she's doing, but some understanding would be much more beneficial over judgment. Alex herself said it best.
This is my reality, Paige. And if you can't be there for me, we have no future.
Moving forward to a little later in the episode, one of the customers makes a move onto Alex and essentially tries to pay for her as a prostitute. So Alex slaps him and quits her job, which I think was a perfectly valid and reasonable response. Alex meets up with Paige at a Degrassi dance, and Paige lets her know she's on her side for whatever she needs next. Hey Siri, play Love is a Battlefield. If that triggered any phones, then I'm sorry, but I had to. Love is a Battlefield is the last episode that we will ever see Alex in, and it's probably my least favorite regarding their relationship. But let's not get too hasty. The episode begins with Alex crashing at Paige's place and not really looking for a new job yet. I forgot to mention, but the reason she's not living with her mom is because in the finale of the last season, her mom decided to use the money that she earned for rent to bail out her abusive boyfriend from jail. There is some understanding from Paige about not looking for a job yet because she knows she's had a rough couple of weeks. But Paige's job outlook is on the up and up. She lands an assistant job at this fashion place, and the growth opportunity is something she could only dream of. She runs into trouble pretty quickly though, as she needs to drive for the job. But she also has not renewed her license. Alex offers to help her out, and she is grateful for her. But this would be the doom for them, because when Alex sees firsthand how different this world Paige is in now, she just can't believe it. To spend $1,200 on shorts is something that is unfathomable to her, and me too, to be honest, but that's not the point. Eventually, she ends up sabotaging Paige's job by not sending out gift baskets for a fashion event, and Paige has to scramble to make it up. They get into an argument at Paige's job, and that is essentially the end of their relationship. I really did skip over a lot in this episode, but that is the essentials of it. I get that Degrassi has to say goodbye to characters, and pretty much 99% of relationships don't last, so I'm fine with that. But this one ended very bitterly for me. I really felt there was a lot of growth in Alex specifically, and it was completely demolished in this last episode. It seemed as if she was making some really great strides in her education and overall had some kind of ambition for a better life, but it really felt thrown away here. I get that given her previous predicament that it may have gotten derailed, but I would have hoped that she would strive for better at the end of it all. It just wasn't exactly my favorite writing decision ever. Paige and Alex were one of the first lesbian couples I ever saw as a kid, so while there are things that I don't like about the storyline, they do hold a special place in my heart.